From a functional medicine standpoint, I just have one question. Why not?
Yeah.
What's the harm, right? Well, that's two questions.
Welcome to the Beauty Talk podcast, where we feature how the best medical practitioners help their patients to look better, younger, and healthier. Now, enjoy the show, and here's your host.
Daniel Gao here. I'm the host of Beauty Talk, where we feature the top medical practitioners in health beauty, both inside and out. Now I have Sonya and Dr. Stephen Ellis from Lab Med Spa. Sonya is the co-founder, lead injector, and head trainer at the Lab Med Spa, an award-winning med spa located in South Lake, Texas. She has been injecting for over 17 years, has been in plastic surgery and aesthetics for over 20 years, is considered a KOL in the industry. She is also one of only 2 nurses in the state of Texas to not only hold a certification in aesthetics, but also plastic surgery. She trains for some of the top aesthetic manufacturers, lectures at several aesthetic conferences, sits as the aesthetic chair for the International Society of Plastic Surgery and Aesthetic Nursing Education Committee, and offers private and group advanced technique classes in her state-of-the-art training facility located only 15 minutes away from the DFW airport. Now, Dr. Stephen Ellis is the other co-founder of the Lab Med Spa and also serves as one of its medical directors. He is certified by the American Board of Anesthesiology. He also works for Metro Anesthesia and currently serves on numerous committees for the group, including the group's board. He serves as Chief of Staff and Chief of Anesthesia for Medical City Louisville and Chief of Anesthesia for Medical City Las Colinas. He's currently the medical director for Trinity Park Surgery Center. Dr. Ellis is also the recipient of the first Humanitarian Award, which recognizes those who are dedicated to improving the lives of others and going beyond everyday kindness. So, Sonya and Dr. Stephen, welcome. Glad to have you here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
He's also certified in functional medicine. Why didn't you tell him that? You should tell him that.
I should tell them that. And peptides, but we're only talking about peptides right now.
Okay, now let's just dive right into it. So I'm curious, how did both of you get interested in the medical industry?
I was a CNA when I first started out. I put myself through nursing school. And so I've worked in every part of the hospital that you can think of. And so when I got out of nursing school, I thought I wanted to go be a nurse anesthetist. And so I went to the ICU. I decided that was not for me. And I was recovering plastic surgery patients while I was on that journey. And I just really fell in love with plastic surgery, and I just never looked back. That's how I got into it. I just kind of stumbled into it.
That's how, I guess that's not your typical story, right?
Love stumbling.
Got it. Now, Dr. Stephen, yourself, how did you get into the medical industry?
Mine's a little bit of a bizarre story. I've actually wanted to be a physician since I was 9 years old. My mother had multiple back surgeries, and so I asked if the last one who did her surgery, if I could go watch a 5-hour spine fusion. And I went in the OR, it was in the UK, and he was on, I forget which street they call it, but anyway, it's one of
Harley Street is the big one, yeah.
And he said to me at the beginning, hey, I understand if you want to step out after a little while, and no big deal. I stayed for the whole surgery, decided at that point that I wanted to continue down that road. I was told by many people that I would never succeed because I wasn't good at sciences. Well, I proved them all wrong. And now I'm a physician, and actually been pretty successful, I think, in many leadership roles and also as a clinician. So.
He wanted to go to orthopedics. I just told him no.
So now that you have this medical spa together, actually, there was one thing that you sent over to me before we had this interview that I thought was amazing. It was just a great tagline, is that Dr. Stephen makes people look beautiful on the inside, and Sonya, you make them look beautiful on the outside. So could you speak a little bit more to that concept?
Well, I've been injecting for 17 years. I've been in plastic surgery for over 20 years. So I see what happens on the outside, and I've been a part of that for a very long time. It wasn't until I started having my own personal struggles on the inside, perimenopausal. I'm 47 now, he's 52, and it just gets harder the older that you get. And I now have realized, in your 20s and your 30s, it's easy. It's easy to stay young. It's easy to fix the outside. But when you get into those 40s and those 50s, it's a whole different ballgame, and everything just kind of starts falling apart. And if you are not treating the patient on the inside, you're not going to get the outside to look as good. So if their hormones are not optimized, the semaglutide, the trizepatide, our weight management has gone out of control. I've always been a little bit fluffy my whole entire life. And that's okay. It's okay to be a little bit curvy. But when I hit perimenopause, it was, I mean, I gained 50 pounds very quickly. And I was doing all the things that I would normally do in my 20s and my 30s, starving yourself, working out, eating healthy, not drinking. And none of it was working. And so he has been biohacking his body, since your 30s? He looks better now. I can show y'all pictures. I can send them to you, Daniel. Oh, whatever. He looks better now in his 50s than he did in his 30s. And I have the pictures to prove it. So once I started my own practice, I kind of looked at him and I was like, you love this. And I want him to be with me. We're heading into that time of our life where our son is out of college. The grandkids are probably going to come in the next 5 to 10 years. I'm at all these conferences away for the weekend and I'm talking. Why would I not want him with me or, in the practice and at these conferences to where we have just better work-life balance and we still work, but we have a little bit of an empty nester life where we can have some fun. And he's so good at functional medicine. I was like, you do it for yourself. Why can't you do it for other people? So I kind of started 2 years ago, we've had this practice for 5 years now. We've been in our current building for 3 years. And I've kind of been goading you the past 3 years to get because I didn't want him to just do it part-time. If you are doing functional medicine, you should be doing it full-time. So I made him go back and get certification in functional medicine. And that took you, a good 2 years? Every weekend you were back in class. And now
it should have taken 2 years. It took 8 months, but
he's an overachiever. So he's double certified. So there's that. And that part of our practice is going insane right now. And now I realize they need that too. So it is a beautiful marriage of just a power couple. We are both doing things that we love. I am not in his space. He takes care of that. He is not in my space. I take care of mine. It works out perfectly and the patients are loving it. Absolutely adore it.
Okay. Now, when it comes to some of the more popular treatments, could you talk about some of your more popular treatments that your patients are coming to you for?
Right now, weight management is the talk of the town, right? Your semaglutide, your tirzepatide, everyone's losing weight relatively easily. Mm-hmm. But I take a different approach, right? It's not a magic pill. You don't come to me and we give you an injection, you walk out the door, thank you very much. We do a full set of labs beforehand, make sure that, we're not mistreating somebody. We actually caught one person with a pancreatic mass because of the labs that we do. And if we put her on semaglutide or tirzepatide, we probably wouldn't have seen her again because she would have died overnight. So, my thing is, I told Sonya, I'm like, if I'm going to do this, then I have to be ethical and have good morals. And so that's kind of my approach to that. And then obviously the hormones, a lot of people don't realize that they may have bad skin, but why do you have bad skin? Right? You can't come in and again get this magical treatment and everything gets better. Maybe there's an underlying problem. And so, the hormone side of stuff has taken off a lot as well. So primarily right now it's, weight management, hormones. When we do pellets and things like that, we have a PA that works under me that does most of that. And then we were gonna get into the peptide realm, but the FDA managed to categorize every single peptide, apart from the ones that Big Pharma is involved with, into category 2, which basically means safety hasn't been proven and you will get fined excessively if you use those compounds. So, that's kind of my side of things.
They also do sexual health. So the he shot and the she shot for sexual wellness. So that's another part of his side of the practice as well.
And then we're going to be introducing, after January, I'm going to be introducing some other modalities as well, which the more I've looked into things like ozone therapy and things, I first thought that it was kind of quack medicine, but it's been around since the 1920s. There's some good data out there for inflammatory stuff, autoimmune. So we'll probably be introducing that as well. Another thing to help somebody be beautiful on the inside, which will also help the outside.
And then obviously we offer basic stuff like IV therapy. So they also do that side on that side of the practice as well. On my side of the practice, it is mainly skincare, injectables. We do all sorts of lasers, and that's what mainly keeps us busy. We do skin tightening devices such as Morpheus 8.
Got it. Now, I want to talk about what differentiates your practice from others in the industry. And I think just by the nature of having the functional medicine and the aesthetic side does make you very different. But could you speak more on that side about how that differentiates you and some other areas of your practice that you feel really differentiates you from the competition?
Well, I think number one is the fact that I've gone through the necessary steps to educate myself for functional medicine, right? I mean, it's the or longevity medicine, depending on kind of what you want to call it. A lot of people don't like those names, but it's basically preventative medicine, right? Instead of the stuff which is, hey, you've got a disease, let's give you a medication. This is, hey, let's not get you to that disease, or when you do get there, we've already started treating it, so it'll be less of a chronic issue for you. So not only that, but our ethics, our morals, the way that we approach our patients, we do treat this as a medical practice, which I don't know necessarily if all med spas approach it that way. And also, as you said, the functional medicine along with the aesthetic side, so fixing the inside and the outside, there's a lot of practices out there that do it the way that we do. I know a few because we're good friends with them, but I would say that we're probably in the minority.
And also, when patients come to our office and they have to go through such a rigorous medical clearance, even for our injectable side of the practice, they're almost shocked because they've been at these other med spas that, they maybe do one consent, they give them a 5-minute consult for neurotoxin and then inject them and they're on their way. Our office is not like that. We normally do a 45-minute to 1-hour consult with each new patient, which absolutely sets us apart in the industry. Most people are not going to take that amount of time because it's cutting into your ROI for your procedures. But I just tell everybody, if the patient is really educated and you have spent that time with them, you are going to sell that patient more in a lifetime than you will in that 5 minutes. So we are not here for the short-term patient. We are here for the long-term patient. Most of my patients have been with me for all 17 years that I've been injecting.
Wow.
Just follow me around.
That's incredible. That's incredible.
It speaks for itself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now, when it comes down to, because you mentioned before that you have the background in plastic surgery. So could you talk a little bit more about really what is the biggest difference between a practice like yours and your traditional plastic surgery practice?
So in a plastic surgery practice, not a lot of plastic surgeons want to have a med spa in their office anymore. They realize that they can make more money standing at an OR table for 30 minutes doing an augmentation for $7,000 rather than spending 30 minutes in a room doing a $900 syringe filler. And so they have really pawned off these procedures onto nurses for a very long time. Now, the reason they usually keep them in the office is because it's going to keep a constant flow of possible patients for them. So sometimes plastic surgeons are, I don't want to say threatened, that's not what I want to say, but kind of almost, it's almost like we're encroaching into their territory. But somebody like me who has been in plastic surgery for so long, I'm not going to sell a syringe and filler to a patient who needs a lower bleph. I'm going to send that patient to my plastic surgeons. So normally my plastic surgeons love me because they know that I'm going to do right by the patient. I'm not going to just sell them a syringe of filler that day. And so that also sets us apart. We actually know what the patient needs, and we're going to only sell them what they need. And if it's not in our office, we're going to give them a referral for where they need to go.
Well, one of the other things that I forgot to mention, because of my training as an anesthesiologist, we've introduced pretty much pain-free lasers. So
even Morpheus 8, and y'all know how painful that is.
I've been, and I teach this at some of the conferences that I go to, but I introduced here face blocks. But what most practices will do is they'll kind of numb up the face a little bit with some cream. Well, we do directed injections of nerves, but then I also taught a neck block. So basically, you got your entire neck gets numbed as well, which most practices are not going to go ahead and do what we call, it's a technical term, is a superficial cervical plexus block, but basically it takes care of the whole neck. So most people are going to go get numb on the face, right? And then they get down to the neck and they're like, oh my, this is a whole different story, but not our patient. So that's probably another thing that kind of sets us apart as well, is me being able to bring that side of the practice.
Well, and we're really excited, since he is an anesthesiologist, we can put the patient, to sleep safely. We have an anesthesiologist in our practice. So we do have certain patients that they have absolutely no pain control. Pronox doesn't work. The full face block, they don't, it's too going through that they just can't. Psychologically, there's not any drugs that can knock them out. And so we are going to offer IV sedation days, where he will be the anesthesiologist. We will get all the patient's treatment done on that day, and then we will recover them, and then somebody will have to drive them home. But I cannot wait to offer that as a service. It's going to be amazing.
Yeah, wow, that's incredible. I mean, so many different services you offer, really just to help give your patients a better experience. Now, one thing I want to ask and talk more about is when it comes to some of the more common misconceptions about the treatments you provide. And I think that this probably is more relevant to a practice like yours, where you have the med spa services side, you have the functional medicine side, you also have the plastic surgery background. So I'm sure you have a lot of people come to you and they have these misconceptions. So could you explain what some of those common misconceptions you get from your patients?
In this day and age with social media, they almost know too much. And so they're almost like very well equipped. They just don't have it in the right order, or they're picking the wrong treatment. They're picking a treatment that their friend had. Okay, they had a great outcome, but that is not appropriate for you. So what I've seen change in the 17 years that I've been injecting is how we have to educate the patient, because they do come in with so much information, and we're pretty much having to say, I need you to get out of that car. I'm going to put you into a different car. I know you feel like you want that car, but you don't. This is the car that's going to be best for you. And it's almost like a re-education process. Mm-hmm. And that's been hard for me, because back in my day, we told the patient what to do. Now they come in and they're wanting to tell you how many units you can use or how many syringes you can use. And you're just like, excuse me, like, I'm the expert. I will pick that for you, or I will tell you what's appropriate for you. So I do think that that's been a big change in the last 5 to 10 years.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. That and the Insta, famous stuff. Some of the best injectors that I've ever known in my career are not Insta famous. And so a lot of these people are following and getting injected by people because they see them on social media. It doesn't always mean that that's where you're going to get good injections, unfortunately.
Okay.
Yeah. That's been the two biggest changes that I've seen in the last 5 to 10 years.
Okay. Now, I'm really curious about how you're going to answer this next question. And I know when people think about medicine, they think about this step-by-step process that is very scientific, and you have to follow this step. But what role do you think creativity plays in the way that you approach your patient care?
It's a lot in my world. It's also a lot in his world, but in a different way. He has to go by numbers and I have to go by anatomy. So usually when I have injectors come and interview in my office, I don't care about your science background. You got through nursing school, you got through PA school, yay, good job, you're smart. You have a science brain. I care more about the way you dress, the way your house is decorated. Can you mix your patterns and your colors? I want to know if you paint or you draw or you sing, do you write? Do you have that artistic side to your personality? And to me, we have to kind of have a sales personality, because that is part of our job, but you don't want to be the used car salesman. This is still a medical procedure, and we still have to make sure that it's appropriate for the patient. But you also have to have that artistic side to your personality. And then of course you have to have the science side. So a lot of people think this is going to be easy to do, and it's just not. You have to have all three parts of that in your being in order to, in my opinion, be a really good injector. Yeah. I can teach you dance moves, but I can't teach you how to move to the music.
Yeah, that's a good analogy.
For your world, it's more numbers driven, but you can take those numbers and then take all the products that you have and you can create this algorithm, because none of his patients get the same thing like mine. It's crazy.
There's nuances. It's kind of like, I suppose it's sort of like anesthesia, right? There's the science and then there's the art. Now, our art is a little bit different than the creativity side, right? It's dialing in meds and all of that. So I kind of take that approach to the functional medicine side of stuff, which is, this is not cookie cutter, right? You don't come in, you're like, well, I might be almost in menopause and I really think I should get estrogen replacement. Well, okay, hang on a minute. What else is going on with you, right? Let's look at the numbers, let's come up with a plan. And maybe that's not your underlying problem, right? Maybe, or okay, you're getting close to menopause, but this other stuff here is more important. So let's tweak this and we can address the estrogen from a different standpoint, which is kind of, bumping it up naturally with supplements, diet, and all that good stuff before going straight to, pellets and stuff. So there's some art as well on my side, just a little bit different than her side.
Got it. Okay. Now, I'm curious, because I'm sure that you've seen some very interesting and very challenging cases in your careers. So do you mind sharing maybe one or two stories of just a really challenging case that you ran across and how you were able to achieve a successful outcome for that challenging case?
So mine is always going to be patients who have had major trauma to the face before they come in. And thank God they get somebody like me, because a lot of injectors don't even realize that there are some implants that you should not be injecting around. The chance for infection around those implants are going to be high. And if you do give a patient an infection that you cannot clear with an oral antibiotic or IV antibiotics, that patient is now going to have to go back into surgery, remove the implant, clear the infection, and then re-implant, like let's just say a chin implant, or somebody has a car accident and they have old coral reef in their face. I mean, I have come across almost everything. I come across patients who have been in different countries and they've had weird products injected into their face, and we have to kind of play the game of what is this? And that's the other thing that we have not talked about yet. He is amazing at ultrasound. And so now our office is able to ultrasound the patient's face. We not only do that because we're playing the find the filler game and what kind of filler is it, but also if we have any complications in the office, such as vascular occlusions, we'll be able to hopefully find that and clear that for the patient before it becomes an issue. So I would say my hardest one is trauma. Always trauma, or bad injections at another office that we're having to completely dissolve, and we're having to just redo it.
Got it.
Okay, so from my standpoint, I kind of alluded to this earlier. We had a patient come in because her sister had great success with semaglutide, and that's what she wanted. And I told her, went through the medical clearance and said, well, we're going to get some labs and look at those. And came back, and there were a couple of things that were out of whack. She had a low glucose, high insulin, which is back to front, right? And so I told her, probably should go get you a scan. And she's the one who had the pancreatic mass, and so then was able to, take care of her, refer her out. Thankfully, because of the network that I have being an anesthesiologist, it was easy for me to find a GI doc to get her to, surgeons, all that good stuff. And then the other challenging part is the over-treatment, especially of men, right, with hormones. We had a friend of ours come to us, and he, really, Sonya was the one who said, hey, can you look at him and try and fix him?
You can tell because they're just beet red. They're just beet red the whole time.
He came in, testosterone was through the roof, and I was talking to him, and he's like, look, I've got this belly fat, I work out like crazy, I'm losing my hair, I don't know what's going on. And we got his labs, and I told him, it's probably going to take me 9 months to fix this. You're not going to be happy with me during that time, but at the end of it, you are. And so I put him on our program, and he's still with us now and doing fantastic. He has quote unquote cheated a couple of times with his testosterone treatment, but then realizes the error of his ways and comes back. But for me, that's the challenging thing is, you know, people coming in with the expectation that, oh, I'm just going to get an injection, a weight management. Well, no, there's other problems going on, and that's why you actually have weight issues or the over treatment of the hormones.
Got it. Okay.
Testosterone is too high. They feel amazing. They have a lot of energy, but over time, it's not worth it. There are so many other things that are going to be out of whack because of that high testosterone. So I love that he, you know, educates them.
Yeah. Okay. Now, what would you say would be the situation that someone would be in where they can really make the best use of your services? I know on the aesthetic side and on the functional medicine side, what would you say, I guess, would be that situation that someone would be in where it's like they really need to come and see you?
In my opinion, we are treating people too late for everything. When I first started aesthetics, if you were a 20-year-old, I would tell you to just get off my table. You know, it's not that bad yet. Now we know that there is such a thing as preventative aesthetics. And now I don't want to go overboard. I don't want to do too much on these individuals, but there is a way for us to treat people in their 20s, you know, their 30s. They start to get pregnant, we start to lose them for a little bit because they're pregnant and they're breastfeeding. But if we'll do things before that and then we'll do things after that, they're going to age more gracefully. I'm hoping that our 20-year-olds now will never have to have a facelift if they do everything that we tell them to do, because they start aging at 25. They really don't notice it until 35. So if we're not doing anything until that time, they are behind the 8 ball, in my opinion. Also, I feel like we're not treating hormones as quickly as we should. And I think if we would start, I've actually talked to Stephen about this, and this is something that I would like for him to start. Before our kids go off to college, I would like to pull a full panel on these kids. They will never feel this good ever again in their entire lives. They're the healthiest they're ever gonna be, or most of them anyway. And so imagine if we had those labs, and imagine if we could just keep them safe, and every 10 years, every 5 years or so, we recheck them again and just see what's going on. What if some of the depressive stuff that we're seeing, what if some of these things that we're seeing like later on, like 10, 20 years after they get out of college, is from hormone fluctuations? What if we could fix that? A lot of people say your hormones are, what do they always say? It's normal for your age. Well, who wants to be their age? Who wants to look their age, and who wants to feel their age? Nobody.
Well, the problem with that is if you actually look at it, nobody knows what normal is, right?
Yeah.
I mean, somebody, for example, could come in with a testosterone as 300, which is low by most standards. But what are their receptors? Are all their receptors taken care of? Maybe they feel, I mean, I have a patient who was on testosterone therapy. I thought he was a little young to start, took him off of it, some other stuff, tweaked him up, and his testosterone is now from like 900 to the 300s, but he feels great. And so I think from my standpoint, as I kind of stated earlier, is the fact that we need to change the way we do medicine, right? Medicine has always typically been, okay, well, you know, you're too young, or, well, you know,
it's not bad enough.
It's, you know, it's your age, you know, you're fine. And then suddenly you've got bad diabetes and you're behind the 8 ball. Well, why can't we flip the script and say, come in young, let's look at everything, let's follow you. We may not do anything initially, but maybe when you're in your early 30s, you need to start thinking about taking some supplementation and doing some stuff, maybe naturally really start, you know, stop going to Whataburger or In-N-Out or, you know, all those, and maybe you need to start cooking your own meals at home. And
don't come from Whataburger. We're in Texas. We're alone.
The problem, I think that in the aesthetic world, as well as the functional medicine side of stuff, but medicine in general, is that we've increased people's lives by 30, 20, 30 years. But what do those last 20 or 30 years look like, right?
Is it going to be quality?
They're not quality. Their health span is no greater than it was but their lifespan is. So let's fix the health span, right? Let's make them look good, feel good, on the inside and the outside.
Perfect. Now, where do you think the future of aesthetics and functional medicine is going, particularly where they're combining together to do what you've accomplished here, is that inside and outside, fixing both?
I will say that I've always believed in functional medicine. I've always sent my patients to other practices to get this done. I've been touting it for a good 10 to 15 years because that is when I started my journey with functional medicine, even though he was not the one doing it yet. And it was COVID, Daniel. COVID taught us a lot business-wise. Now, this is not the only reason we started it. We do believe in it, and it is something that we want in our practice. But you should not be doing this on the side. You are messing with somebody's sex life. You are messing with how much energy they have. You are messing with how they're going to treat their family and their coworkers. And so this is not something that you want to take lightly or just add on the side. There does have to be somebody in your office that is completely dedicated to this. It is that hard to do and to learn. So when COVID hit, we were completely shut down. How many med spas were? We were not considered a necessary business. And so we sat there and we saw all of the hormone places in our area, they could still keep their doors open. So it is a way to diversify your practice, and it works. And it goes right in line with how we feel people should be doing aesthetics or their beautification journey. You should not just be worried about the outside, you should be worried about the inside as well. So it was an easy ad for us, easy ad. But that is when I looked at him and said, please, will you please?
Well, it was a good time for me because, I mean, I know she told you I was 52, I'm 51, so she's adding years on.
Sorry.
But
you look 48.
I look 32, thank you.
Sorry.
No. And it was a good time for me to kind of transition because being an anesthesiologist, you typically take a lot of call and it wears on you. And as you get older, you can't recover as quickly from those calls. And so I was looking, how do I kind of,
slow down without
ride
stopping
into the sunset,
Yeah.
but not just stop doing what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And she's right. I had basically been tweaking stuff for 15 plus years. And
I mean, Daniel, I'm gonna send you his ads. Yes, I am.
But anyway,
I'll text it to you.
I've been tweaking stuff for 15 years, and it was really the aha moment during, as Sonya said, kind of during COVID. I was like, because I was shut down too, right? And the surgeries were shut down unless it was
necessary,
life or death.
Yeah.
And I thought, why don't I just do something that I actually enjoy? I mean, not that I don't enjoy anesthesia, but, kind of ride off into the sunset, doing something that doesn't require me to be on call 24 hours up all night. I can do banker's hours basically and still do things that I enjoy.
As far as I know, there's not emergency testosterone, right?
I don't know.
Think so.
Some patients may think so.
There is emergency Botox. There is.
Okay, great. Now I have one last question for you, but before I ask it, I want to point people to your website at www.thelabmedspa.com. Now, last question is, what would you say is the most important piece of advice you can give to someone who's maybe on the fence about either coming in for an aesthetic procedure or a functional medicine treatment, but something is holding them back?
I just tell everybody we have a very low pressure cells technique in our office. We are never, if I ever catch any of my staff selling something to a patient that they don't need, they already know heads are going to roll. And so that just doesn't happen in our practice. So I do think our front desk staff is very well versed in getting the patient in for a consultation. Once they've had a consultation with us, it's done. It's over because we spend so much time with them. And we talk about everything. We're going to talk about, like I said, their skincare. We're going to go through injectables. We're going to go through laser. We're going to go through weight management, and we're going to go through functional medicine. And in that 45 minutes, an hour, we're going to find out exactly what the patient is looking for and exactly what we have in our office in order to provide those services to them. And if we don't have something in their office, or we do feel like maybe they have some psychological issues or things that they really just shouldn't be getting treatment done. Or if we think they have a medical issue that is past our pay grade, we are going to send that patient on to a referral that is appropriate for them.
Well, from a functional medicine standpoint, I just have one question. Why not?
Yeah.
What's the harm, right? Well, that's two questions, but why not? What's the harm? You come in, you get some labs, we check it out, and if there's nothing wrong, then great, you've got a great baseline, and you can go about your business. But what if you come in and we do find something, and we can make you feel better, and we can prevent some chronic diseases? I'm not saying that we're going to cure everybody, right? That's silly. But at least can we improve your health span, and who wouldn't want to do that?
Got it. Okay, well, there you have it. Sonya and Dr. Stephen Ellis sharing their expertise. Now, where can people contact you in your practice?
They can go to our website. We have webinars there. He'll be teaching people about functional medicine. I train for all the top manufacturers, and obviously I prefer private training though, because I like to do a lot. I want to do off-label stuff. I don't want to train on label. And so usually our website is the best place, but we are active on all social media sites. So if they want to reach out, pretty much they can reach us anywhere.
Got it. Okay.
We're pretty easy to find.
Got it. Well, great. Well, thanks for being on the show and sharing your message.
Thanks, Daniel.
Right. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Beauty Talk podcast. Any questions, please contact the practice directly with the contact information provided during the show. We'll see you again next time. Bye for now.